Do you feel as if you try to force solutions or outcomes by setting goals and just doing all the things to try to get your life to be the way you think it should be, as opposed to listening to your intuition or your gut to guide you through your life? Have you ever made any life altering decisions because you were trying to live according to someone else's expectations or even the expectations of society, to only realize that choice, that decision wasn't the truth of what you wanted or didn't come from the truth of who you are? There's a saying from the Bible, the truth shall set you free. And there's so much wisdom and truth in that when we can finally tap into our true knowing. In this week's episode with Naomi Fox Reina, she shared so much insight, so much wisdom on how you can live your life from a place of flow and ease by learning how to follow the breadcrumbs. If you want to learn more, or you're just looking for more guidance on how you can live from this place where you're so tired of forcing outcomes and living according to the expectations of others, then I invite you to tune into this week's episode. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Masks Off for People Pleasers and Perfectionists. I'm Kim Gross, your host. I have so much energy right now. I am so excited to be doing this interview with Naomi Fox Reina. We have such an episode for you, or if you listen to the nuggets in this episode, you will have maybe a completely different way of looking at life. If you're listening to this podcast, you're most likely a recovering perfectionist and people pleaser. We're going to give you a new framework from which you can look at your life, an antidote to this perfectionistic tendency that is keeping you way down, stuck in your life, stuck in limiting beliefs, stuck in martyrdom, stuck in this internal pressure. And so this is going to be juicy. This is going to be valuable. So buckle up and here we go. So Naomi, welcome to my show.
Thank you so much. I'm so thrilled to be here.
Me too. I'm so excited. So if you can introduce yourself in your own words.
I'm Naomi Fox Reina, and I teach light-filled astrology and human design. I have certifications to be a light-filled astrologer and a light-filled human design expert, as well as other courses. I also get to be a wife to my very best friend, and the mother of 3 boys and the stepmom to 2 boys and a girl. And so life is plenty filled over here. And I just am so passionate about the experience of the sacred journey of people learning to tell themselves the truth and be brave in that truth.
Love it. And you shared with me a quote, which is, the truth shall set you free, John 8:32. Why is that quote meaningful to you?
I would sit and ponder if there was anything I could say that people would hear straight to their hearts. What would I say? And I encourage everybody to think about this for themselves. For me, I would love to tell people and have them really comprehend that it is safe to tell yourself the truth. Because for so many years, I was deceptive with myself. I would tell myself I wanted things that I didn't want, and I would tell myself I didn't want things that I did want. It created absolute and total chaos in my life. I ended up married to a man that I didn't truly want to be with. I thought I should, so I did. Then got divorced, got a ton of therapy, awoke, started to learn about the truth, and I healed, and it was amazing. And then I got into an even worse marriage. And just following the breadcrumbs back of how that happened was quite the journey. I kept searching with an eagle eye, like, where was the point that I should have known? Where was the point that I can look for in the future? Reverse engineering the decision process so that I could keep myself safe in the future. And ultimately, what it came down to is there was a moment when I was dating my second husband that I let go of the truth because I wanted the safety that I perceived in going with his plan in something very subtle. It was extremely subtle in the first moment, but I found that moment where I deviated from telling myself the truth. And when I understood what I had done, I realized that. And now I am fierce about telling myself the truth and checking in and being like, do I really want this? Is this aligned with me? If I don't want this, just noticing if I feel unsafe to say anything. I recognize that most people don't articulate these thoughts, but this is something that every person, especially women, struggle with, feeling that fear of if I say what I really think, someone's going to be upset or my world will fall apart. We're negotiating all the time how honest we will really be with ourselves.
100%. And what you just named is a huge characteristic of the people pleaser,
Yes.
is to not really be able to check in with oneself and identify, is this something I really want, or is this something that the other wants? I
Yes.
share in my book, Free to Be Pathway to Inner Liberation. When I was 30 years old, I had the voice in my head that my biological clock is ticking. And if I don't get pregnant soon, I'm going to miss my window of opportunity. My mom was like, when are you having grandkids? When am I going to get grandkids? My husband's, let's go. When are we starting a family? We had already been married for 6 years and dating for 2. And I still wasn't pregnant. And I always was like afraid of delivery. I didn't want to have kids. I wasn't sure if I wanted to have kids. It is something I never took the time to explore. Some women will say, I dreamt about being a mother always. Like it's my
Mhm.
dream to be a mom.
Mhm.
That was not me. I
Mhm.
didn't dream about it. And because I never took the time to know what was the truth for me, I blindly got pregnant
Because you
and
should.
started because I should.
You were
There,
following the plan, someone
I
else's
was
plan.
exactly. It was go to high school, graduate from high school, go to college, get the degree, get married, get the house, right? And then the next thing in line was the kids, having the 2.5 kids and how that all goes. I say this in my book. It's what I believe that even then the universe was speaking to me because I hemorrhaged during both deliveries. The one thing that was really blocking me from getting pregnant was
Yeah.
my fear of having kids. And lo and behold, I had 2 horrible deliveries. And when my first was born, 7 days old, a week old, he was in the NICU unit because he was jaundiced and dehydrated. So all of the things that could be going wrong were going wrong. And I didn't know at the time, but now as writing my book and in hindsight, the universe was teaching me even then that when I don't pay attention to my voice within, I will say that I love my kids more than anything. And they were my greatest teachers for the last 25 years. I would not change it or trade it for the world. The point in this story is what you said, and it goes back to the quote, the truth shall set you free, is that we ignore.
Yes.
So often we
Yes.
ignore. Any thoughts on that before we talk about our other topic?
Hey, Kim here to interrupt your regularly scheduled podcast to let you know about my book, Free to Be a Pathway to Inner Liberation. Look, if you're looking to find ways to be your true self, to have more freedom in your life, to have more peace, to have more joy, to learn how to trust your intuition and to be able to flow more throughout your life. I detail all of these themes in my book, and I use my 5-step power pathway as a framework to guide you through on how you can unhook from the masks that you wear, to identify how patterns are playing out in your life and they're running the show. They are patterns that are running your life rather than living a life. You can grab your copy at amazon.com. You can also go to my website, Kim Gross Coaching. And if you go to my website and you put in your order number, you will be able to get a free gift for purchasing your copy of Free to Be. Now back to you, to your regularly scheduled podcast.
We could talk about what you just said for hours. The potency of how jacked up our lives get when we won't bring things to the light because we're afraid of the light. And really, what the light does, because light without love, without truth, and without compassion and peace is not light, it's something else. Most of us are afraid of illuminating the problem because in the past, somebody has come up with criticism and been like, aha, you suck, or you're not good enough, or whatever, fill in the blank. And so we learned to hide. We learned to stuff it down because we didn't know what actual truth feels like. Truth and light and peace and love and compassion, they're all facets of the exact same thing. Without the other, they're not what they are. They're something else. Truth without love is just meanness. A lot of us have experienced that. Somebody told me the truth once and it ruined my life. But the truth incorporates everything. It incorporates your perspective, their perspective, God's perspective, the past perspective, and the messed up perspective of the people on our bus. If you can bring it all to light, then you can go, oh, this is perfect. This is beautiful. This is lovely.
I'm following you, and I get that because that is the aha moment I had after rereading my book, after I wrote it. I have full body chills on it because then I saw the whole entire universe, or how the universe weaved every single thing together that happened. Everything made sense that happened throughout my whole life. Like you said, the light, it was all the pieces. When I was in it, I didn't know that. I villainized my husband. My mom there was so much pain, so much wounding. There was so much blame. I didn't have the light and the love then because I needed to do a lot of healing in order to get to this place of looking back on the whole entire picture and realizing exactly what you just said.
Yes. Yes.
So then we were talking about decision making, me having kids and not listening to the truth and being able to follow the breadcrumbs. We were talking about that is what I really want to dive into because I find this so fascinating and it can be so liberating and freeing for people once you can finally understand this, grasp it, and implement it in your life. And it is the exact opposite of what perfectionists will do. Because a perfectionist will, and our whole society has been conditioned to set goals, follow that proverbial path, do all the things that you're supposed to do, and force solutions like push. I got to make things happen. I got to create an outcome. And I think I will actually share a little bit of the reading from Melody Beatty's Language of Letting Go, because it will help the listener to tune into what you and I are going to talk about and you're going to shed light on. So I won't read the whole entire thing, just enough. All right, this is called Making It Happen, right? Melody Beatty says, stop trying so hard to make it happen. Stop doing so much. If doing so much is wearing you out or not achieving the desired results, stop thinking so much and so hard about it. Stop worrying about it. Stop trying to force, to manipulate, to coerce, to make it happen. Making things happen is controlling. We can take positive action to help things happen. We can do our part, but many of us do more than that. Controlling is self-defeating and it doesn't work. The basic understanding is letting go. This is what we do as perfectionists and codependents, people that are just trying to control, set the goals. I have to force a solution. I have to force an outcome. And you just become a human doing. There's so much overwhelm and stress from that way of living. But you have a different theory, approach, idea, an antidote to this.
Because I had been through such refinement, it set me up really well that when I was exposed to the systems of astrology and human design, I could see the power of how much they allow us to know ourselves and to see others a little bit more accurately, because we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. And with human design specifically, there's definitely a few astrological parts of our discussion that need to come up, especially with you and I sharing a moon sign. In human design, there are 5 aura types, and each aura type has a way that is meant for them to divinely lead their life so that they can allow the universe to curate and bring them the life that is made for them, that is 10,000 times better than what you would choose for yourself. And so much of that is surrender, it's submission, but it's a very specific avenue per type to be able to get there. And so many of us are living out of alignment because we just don't know. I think on an intuitive level, a lot of us, we haven't sorted through enough of the muck and the conditioning to hear that voice. Specifically, let's take generator types. That's 70% of the planet, half of them being manifesting generators, 70% of the population. And so chances are people who are listening to this are likely going to be that. The strategy for a generator is to wait to respond, which means that you're waiting for something external to come into your world that is not from inside of your mind. Your mind is fine. We don't need to get rid of the mind, but the mind is a little bit like the ego. It's just this constant chatter that's trying to keep us safe and trying to prevent getting hurt again. It gives terrible directions. It is an awful navigator and definitely an even worse therapist or consultant. And so, if you allow yourself to truly get into this waiting to respond, something external will come into your space and your body will have a knowing in it that will go, huh? Or, and that's very specific to generator types, is that when the body goes, huh, you're like, ooh, it might be something that makes no logical sense whatsoever. It might not be something that you want to do on the mental level, but your body says, do that, turn down this street, talk to that person, don't talk to that person. You might have had every intention to go up and talk to somebody, and your body says, and so you make a quick turnaround and you don't do the things that your body says no to, and you do the things that your body says yes to as a generator type. If you could see with your spiritual eyes what's going on around you, you would be astounded. Exactly what you want, especially what your higher self wants, is right there. The steps are laid out in front of you, but you won't be shown the whole picture. And our brain is, no, but I want to know the plan. I want to know what's going to happen over the next 5 years. Guess what, sweetheart? That's not actually what your soul wants. That's what your traumatized brain wants. But that's not truth. That's fear. And it's not coming from that place of love. And so when you can sink into love and you're like, oh, that's right. That's how that feels. I know everything's going to be okay. And I know that anything could change on a dime, and it could change for the quote unquote better, and it could change for the worse. But there is no better or worse. There just is what's happening right now. And it all leads us to something incredible and beautiful.
Okay, I have so much I want to say about that. First, I will say this, that part of me is, yes, Naomi, I get it. I'm experiencing that because even with this book, like the ghost writer came to me, my editor came to me, like all of it just unfolded. The title came to me like that, like so many people struggle with a title. The cover design, all of it just came, and it just felt like I was following the breadcrumbs or the yellow brick road, and I
Yeah.
was just listening, and it feels good. Then there's another part of me, my brain side of me, that is saying, and this is what I really want the listeners to maybe hone in on, because I'm going to venture out and say that they are also experiencing this, because if they're a recovering perfectionist or perfectionist, they'll get it. So now I'm at this place. Book is written, book is out. I'm doing the podcast and doing all the things. I'm trying to follow the yellow brick road in terms of what I want to do next. Where do I want to take this message? And it's so hard to wait for the yellow brick road. Sometimes I'm sitting here and like, I should be doing something. This doesn't feel right. I need to be doing more things. Then I'll get myself caught up in busy work, in tasks, to feel that I'm being productive or doing something. But I think what I hear you saying is that when I do that, when I just start doing tasks to feel productive, to feel like I'm accomplishing something, I'm actually taking myself out of the picture or away from the yellow brick road, where I
Yeah.
can't even see the next brick in front of me because I'm so distracted with my to-do list.
100%. You're a manifesting generator, and your root center is undefined. There's 9 centers in human design, and the ones that are defined, you have consistent access to the energy that those centers govern, and the ones that are undefined, you have inconsistent access. Undefined roots are always in a hurry to be free of the pressure. Oh, I've got 45 minutes before lunch. Let me just hurry and finish my to-do list. And it's delusional. Your to-do list is 8 days long. It doesn't work like that. There's a disconnect between the to-do list and the timing when the root center is undefined. There's just all of this external pressure that's not being directly communicated, but you feel the pressure that if you're in that squeeze and you start to get frustrated, specifically as a generator type, you get frustrated. That's your sacred signal that you're out of alignment. You probably default into fresh, go, squeeze it in, do it, pressure, and it's your favorite flavor.
So what does one do?
With an undefined root, you have a different relationship with time and your to-do list. Just mentally knowing that, you can go, oh, okay, that's just my undefined root trying to pressure. You do the work to sit and feel the feelings and realize, oh, I'm not waiting to respond. So you take a breath and you basically take your hands, that death grip that you have on the wheel, and you release it so that something can come into your space. It might take 12 seconds and it might take a little longer. A dear friend of mine is a generator and came to a retreat that I just hosted this weekend. I needed a massage therapist because mine had canceled a week before. I have a friend in Florida who's a massage therapist, so she flew in from Florida to St. George and everything unfolded perfectly. She attends this retreat that she wasn't planning to, and she's inundated with 24 light-filled astrologers also talking about human design. She gets lots in her space, even more than just being my friend. And I talked to her last night. I was like, how's it going? That was a major catalyst experience, being around all these people and seeing some of the things in her life that maybe she's unsatisfied with. And so I'm just waiting to respond. It's really hard, but I'm doing it. And I'm like, I'm so proud of you because she was really slowing down and stopping the push, push, go. There's a problem. The bills aren't getting paid. I don't like my job. Instead of kicking it into gear, Google searching, applying, doing all these things, she just took a breath and knew that if she waited to respond, there would be plenty to do. It's not a flaccid way of going through life. It's not that you don't engage, it's that you only engage when it is something that is aligned. And if you're engaging in something that's not aligned, frustration will rule your life as a generator type. Like, tell me about it.
I know. But I am starting to have more of those experiences of just feeling led. I will tell you that someone who lives in Utah, met her at that retreat I told you about, recommended a YouTube video for me to watch on comparison. I watched it and I liked what he had to say, and I was resonating with his message and the way he delivered. Watched a couple more of his YouTube or his podcast episodes, and I'm like, I'm really vibing with this guy. I really like what he has to say. I like his message. And then I think the next day, I just got this hit to send him an email and
You responded.
ask him if he wants to be on my show. Now
Mhm.
he is probably 5 times, maybe 10 times the size of mine, but it was like, no. My
Alignment.
my ego or my fear side of me was like, don't do it. You're not
That's a
gonna
terrible idea. It's going to
that
go
yeah,
bad. He's going to
yeah.
laugh when he sees your
He's
email.
exactly. He's gonna ignore it. All I was like, don't do it. But then
Uh-huh.
I was quiet enough and I
Yeah.
kept feeling it. And
Bingo.
because I'm getting more practice at feeling that and following those hits, I
Yes.
sent the email.
Yes.
And when I sent the email, I had no attachment to it or an expectation of how it should turn out. Would I love for him to come on? Yes. If he doesn't, is that a reflection of me? No. If I'm aligning with the universe, then it might not happen tomorrow. It might not happen next week. Maybe it'll happen in 6 months or who knows?
It might happen at the perfect time. If it happened tomorrow, perhaps that wouldn't have been the best timing. I love the practicing non-attachment. I love the Buddhist perspective of attached to nothing, connected to everything. because there's a connection. There's a connection to the flow of, hey, he's talking about awesome stuff and I'm talking about awesome stuff and we're helping people. Maybe if we clicked up together, we would help people more. And maybe that's not what's meant to happen. But I love that. I think that's beautiful.
To piggyback on what you just said, the truth of my energy was, I just really want to connect with this guy.
Yes.
Because I really love what he's saying. I love what he's talking about. And I want to have a good conversation with him. It wasn't about, because I've done this before with other well-known podcasters where the intention was, oh, let me connect with them because it'll boost my show.
Yes.
It'll boost my rating. A different agenda. With this guy, it was like, oh, I really want to just connect with him.
Yes. I love that. That's so beautiful.
And what's great about what you and I are proposing is there's so much more freedom and ease and flow when you can move through the universe in this way.
Let's touch on the other types because contrast is the most powerful teacher. Invariably, you're going to have people that are not generators or manifesting generators listening. Manifestors are about 8 to 9% of the population, and they wait for a burst of inspiration and then they inform. Generators wait to respond. Manifestors inform. So they're the ones using their voice. They have a motor to the throat is what it's called, the mechanics of it. But that means that they have power coming through their throat. You also have that as a manifesting generator. So you're like a hybrid between a manifestor and a generator. And so manifestors have inconsistent access to their energy, but they're here to inform. They are the ones saying, this is what's happening. They're not asking for permission. They are informing so that others can be aware of this tidal wave of awesome that's about to happen. They are here to inform the people that will be impacted by the actions that they are about to take. And so they're a small percentage of the population, but they initiate everything. The rest of us, the other 92%, are looking to the manifestors to say, what's the plan? They are the pure initiators. As a manifesting generator, you still initiate things, but after you wait to respond. You have to wait to respond first and then use your powerful motorized throat and say, this is what's happening. Now, projectors are about 21% of the population. Projectors do not have a motorized throat and they don't have a defined sacral. So they have inconsistent access to their physical energy, and projectors are here to guide. They are actually the leaders of the way that the world is evolving. The big kicker with projectors is they need to wait to be invited, which is different than waiting to respond. Waiting to respond is any external stimulus. Somebody could come in your face and say, you are uninvited, and that could be the thing that you respond to that leads to aligned action. But for a projector, their aura is penetrating. So they perceive things about other people that other people haven't told them. If a projector goes up and tries to guide someone that didn't ask them to, it can feel really horrible to the person receiving it. And it will definitely exhaust the projector, who already has very limited energy. The projector won't be heard because they did not get an invitation, or they'll become exhausted and piss off the other person, and they get very bitter and they repel any ability to receive those invitations. And the invitations are vital so other people's auras open up. I am a projector. And so for those that are still listening, thank you for inviting me by listening. And thank you so much, Kim, for inviting me onto your podcast, because I have deep wisdom to share, but I can't just, after we're done here, knock on my neighbor's door and say, I just had the best conversation and I would love to talk to you too. And march into their living room and talk to them about truth or their aura type or anything like that. It doesn't work. Where a generator could respond to something that would be aligned action for them. Reflectors are very rare. They're 1% of the population. They have no defined centers at all. They are here to mirror how the rest of us are doing back to the world. If you are a reflector and you're miserable, you're in the wrong environment. You need to move to a different place to live and be around different people, because you're like an ultimate sponge or mirror. If you're around awesome people, you'll feel fantastic.
Is that what you do through human design to decide if a
Yes.
person's a reflector, projector, manifestor, generator.
Determined from the minute and location that you are born. And that tells you where all the planets were aligned. Human design is a synthesis of Western astrology, the Kabbalah, the I Ching, quantum physics, and the chakra system. All of that comes together to help us understand how our energy is governed and how other people experience our aura. So I do one-on-one sessions, I do private coaching, but really what I do is I offer certification programs to teach others so they can integrate it into what they're already doing or become human design experts. A lot of coaches or any person that works one-on-one with clients really should know their own human design and the human design of the people that they're working with so that they can properly guide them, because guiding a manifestor versus guiding a reflector versus guiding a generator is completely different, and you can actually do harm if you're.
Do you have any last bit of advice in terms of the perfectionism and an antidote? And then finally, where can people find you?
I think that there's so many thoughts about self-reflection and all of that, but when it comes to astrology and human design, it's the map to show you your stuck points. Virgo is the sign of perfection. A Virgo energy can walk into a room and immediately boom. You are one of the most Virgo people I've ever met. There was another Virgo at the retreat I was just at. Her sun, moon, and rising were all in Virgo. She was a triple Virgo, but she also had another 4 placements in Virgo. She was actually born very close to you. And so she had a tremendous amount of Virgo. So we talked a lot about that. So knowing where your Virgo placements is, that will inform you a lot of where you're doing the divine perfection, because there is something beautiful about perfection. It's not all wrong. Where you believe you can achieve perfection is where you'll see in your Virgo placements. And you and I both have a Virgo moon. And so the moon is our emotional world. It's how we process emotional things. If we process our emotions through the sign that's demanding perfection, it can create a few snafus. Fun fact, Brene Brown, obviously called to wake up the world to perfectionism and vulnerability. She has a Virgo moon. If you've ever studied Brene Brown, you can tell that she has actually lived it. She's not just speaking theory. She has had to do the hard work. And I love how authentically vulnerable that she is from a healed place as she shares things in addition to the research. You can hear her Scorpio sun and Virgo moon, the 2 signs that detest vulnerability the most. She is called to wake us up on the powerful level because nobody was really speaking about it on a broad level like her. Now, the splash has hit the pond and now the ripples have gone everywhere and there's experts everywhere on it, which is absolutely beautiful. So understanding your chart, I love the question, what's right about this that I'm not seeing? Because there's something perfect in the imperfection. We're not just meant to be a hot mess running around. That's not true and authentic for everyone. For some people, I think it is. Also understanding in your human design, what centers do you have that are undefined? Meaning, where do you have inconsistent access? Where are you taking on and amplifying other people's energy in a way that's causing a lot of wounding for yourself and the people around you? Just seeing the map and understanding the basics can really give you so much more peace faster than a lot of other methods will. I don't think it's the only way to do things. And I think you can live a perfectly wonderful life never knowing your astrology or human design. But to me, it shortened the journey so quickly. And I actually don't know if I would have gotten to the place of peace that I'm at without these systems.
I love that. You said you do work one-on-one, and I know that you're on social media too, and people can follow you and learn from you there. So where would they find you?
Everything is at lightfield.co. My website is lightfield.co. All of my social media handles are lightfield.co. And that's where you can find me. And I have free charts. I have a free mini course. If you're like, this is interesting, but I'm overwhelmed. There's so much information. I have a free mini course. It's awesome. Just come and join my world. Get on my email list and get all the awesome things that are coming.
There you have it. I hope that you enjoyed the conversation with Naomi as much as I did. And just being able to learn how to tap into your intuition, to use your intuition as a guide. When you can really learn how to slow it down and wipe away the noise, your gut will really guide you. And I do hope that this was valuable for you as it was for me. I really did benefit a lot from Naomi's wisdom and expertise. And if you're curious about learning more about human design and astrology, I highly recommend that you reach out to Naomi. In fact, I have a personal one-on-one scheduled with her very soon. I was that impressed by her. And also, if you enjoyed this episode, I would love if you left me a review, or if you just gave a like or subscribe. And by doing so, it really does help to push this content out. I'm not just asking you to like, review, or subscribe just for my ego or for that external validation that I so often talk about. I really truly do want this content to be able to be pushed out so more people who need to hear from the amazing many guests that I've had on the show and from my solo episodes, that it can get into their inbox or on their radar. And the only way to do that is for the algorithms to see that people are liking, subscribing, listening, and tuning in, and that will help to push it out. So you would be doing not only myself a solid, but everyone else out there who needs to hear an episode from Masks Off or People Pleasers and Perfectionists. So I do truly hope that you will take a minute to just do that. And I'll see you next time on Masks Off.